Alrighty then. What is up? What is up? Waiting for the screen to load. Oh, yesterday was a power outage. The power went out and everything. So we are live. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another Monday night, and that means another online open mic. My name is Richie Marrufo, and we're coming to you from El Paso, Texas. This is the stay-at-home open mic presented by Barbed Open Mic Series. Like I said, we're out of El Paso, Texas, the U.S. Southwest, but because we're online, we're going to be able to connect with people from all over the country, sometimes all over the world. And really, this is just a platform for people to share their latest work, try out some cover poems, maybe any kind of creative expression, really. We do poetry, songwriting. If you want to do cover poems in tribute to some of your favorite poets, we're here. And of course, we have a whole backlog. So if you're tuning in for the very first time, we have a whole archive of episodes, 100 plus at this point, right? And it just keeps growing. And tonight is one of those. Last week we had a pretty dense show, so the universe finds a way to balance out. It feels like a pretty light list tonight, and that's perfectly fine. Last week we did have a bunch of touching tributes to our very own Donna Snyder. May she rest in peace and power and poetry. I know that some stuff still being planned out for in person and maybe even virtual tributes. So stay tuned for that. Of course, if you're already part of these communities, you'll definitely hear about that as it comes along. This week, we are honoring Indigenous Peoples Day. Just want to throw that out there. Something, I hope that we continue to take decolonial frameworks in our pieces and in our readings, and at least that's my piece for that. I do want to kick things off. We do have, as always, some regulars who want to do their thing, maybe even a new person or two who signed up. Today I want to kick it off with Joy Harjo, who is U.S. Poet State Laureate. But I knew her back in the day because I was a aspiring poet who played saxophone, and so when I saw this lady on stage rocking the saxophone and spitting poetry, I was just like in awe. I'm like, whoa, you can do that. And so she was very early on one of my early influences in that sense. So I'm gonna share a couple of her pieces to start off the show, and then we'll head off onto our regular list. If you guys are watching during the show, I'll be updating the description info. So if you do want to sign up and you're watching live, we do have plenty of room, that's for sure. If you do want to hang out with us, we always, whenever we end the show, we do hang out for a little bit and chat it up, talk about anything and everything, even the natural lulls in conversation that happens too. But also, if you're an EPCC student and you're here for the Tejano Passport program through the QEP, I do have the codes. That sounds so like sinister, right? Like we've been talking too much about like secret codes lately, right? Don't worry, I have access for them and I can have them with me. No FBI raids needed. I will give you the codes, the QR codes, so you can get to that credit. All you have to do is email me. I'll leave my info in the chat. You can just all look me up too online and send me a message. With that said, let's go ahead and this is Joy Harjo. Remember the sky that you were born under. Know each other's stories. Remember the moon. Know who she is. Remember the sun's birth at dawn. Remember the moon. Know who she is. Remember the sun's birth at dawn. That is the strongest point of time. Remember sundown and giving away to night. Remember your birth, how your mother struggled to give you form and breath. You are evidence of her life and her mother's and hers. Remember your father. He is your life also. Remember the earth whose skin you are. Red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth. We are earth. Remember the plants, trees, animal life who all have their tribes, their families, their histories too. Talk to them, listen to them. They are alive poems. Remember the wind. Remember her voice. She knows the origin of this universe. Remember, you are all people and all people are you. Remember, you are this universe and this universe is you. Remember all is in motion, is growing, is you. Remember, language comes from this. Remember, the dance language is that life is. Remember, remember. All right, Joy Harjo, and of course, this is one of the songs I heard her playing the saxophone. My house is the red earth. My house is the red earth. It could be the center of the world. I've heard New York, Paris, or Tokyo called the center of the world, but I say it is magnificently humble. You could drive by and miss it. Radio waves can obscure it. Words cannot construct it, for there are some sounds left to sacred wordless form. For instance, the full crow picking through the trash near the coral understands the center of the world as greasy strips of fat. Just ask him. He doesn't have to say that the earth is churned scarlet through fierce belief after centuries of heartbreak and laughter. He perches on the blue bowl of the sky and laughs. Sorry, that was a cheesy laugh. That was Joy Harjo. And in honor of Indigenous Peoples Day, in El Paso, we are doing a Viva Dunanguito event. If you're not familiar with, if you haven't been local, we've had a whole land battle these last 6 or 7 years over one of the oldest neighborhoods in our city called the Duranguito. Some of the rich land developers and kind of owners of the city want to bulldoze this neighborhood and create an arena. There are some staunch defenders of that land. There's a lot of history behind it. And they want to kick abuelitas out. You know, they still live there. Tonita, for example, who's still there. So Wednesday, we're going to have an Indigenous People Day event at Duranguito from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. I've recruited some poets, and we're going to rock some decolonial poetry, historical preservation. And check this out. I've been recruiting people, but since we're live right now, and it's not too many people listening in just yet, I recruited without like the beautiful part of it. HBO is going to be there to document. So some of us are going to get to perform for HBO documentary. And that's pretty exciting news. Looking forward to that. But one of the reasons why I didn't mention that is because it's more than that. It's more about that. It's more about the people who live there and, you know, recognizing the indigenous history of the land as well. Because for a lot of people, history starts like when the Cowboys get here, not the football team, right? But you know, U.S. Western imperialism. Anyway, we got a whole show ahead of you guys. If you guys are in El Paso, we got a bunch of things going on this week. It's crazy. I'm already stressing out thinking about it. We've got the online show tonight. On Tuesday, we have Mona Bar of Modern Art downtown. Wednesday, we have Indigenous People Day Poetry Reading Celebration. And Friday, we have Craft Rhythm and Brews over on Montana, 1301 Texas Street. So there's a lot going on. And if you can't make any of those, we will be back online next Monday so you guys can do your thing. Without further ado, I'm going to hand it off. We do have a list. It's a short list, but, you know, we're going to do it anyway. And we're going to stay in El Paso and welcome someone who is still kicking some awesome work. She's got some new work on the way that we're all looking forward to from Mouthfeel Press. Let's go ahead and welcome to the stage, Robin Schofield. Hey, Robin.
Hi, Richie. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I didn't want to appropriate Indigenous Peoples Day, being a descendant of slave owners and people who appropriated land. So, and I'm still thinking a lot about Donna. So I wanted to read some poems about death. And this one is by Gerard Manley Hopkins. And a funny story is that, well, it's a long story, but I was tagging along with a group of people who were tagging along with Seamus Heaney. And he was taking us to the grave of Gerard Manley Hopkins, and he stopped to ask the gravekeeper which way. And the gravekeeper said, "Oh, the convert," because he had converted to Catholicism. So anyway, this is a very serious poem. It's called Spring and Fall to a Young Child. Margaret, are you grieving over Golden Grove unleaving? Leaves like the things of man, you with your fresh thoughts care for? Can you? Ah, as the heart grows older, it will come to such sights colder, by and by, nor spare a sigh, the worlds of one wood leaf meal lie. And yet you will weep and know why. Now, no matter, child, the name, sorrow's springs are the same, nor mouth had, no nor mind expressed what heart heard of, ghost guessed. It is the blight man was born for. It is Margaret you mourn for. So then I want to read some translations I made. First of Rilke. I've been playing around and translating the sonnets to Orpheus. Not that I'm a great speaker of German, but I do know how to read it. I don't have much vocabulary, but you know, you can always look up words. I have a good idea of the grammar and I can read it. So this is my translation of Sonnets to Orpheus, Series 1, number 3. A god is able to, but tell me, how should a man follow him through the slender lyre? Being conscious is conflict. At the crossroads of two heartways, no temple of Apollo stands. Great song, how did you teach it? Not out of desire, nor recruiting around a reaching that is finite for now. Great song is being. For the God, it's easy. But when are we? And when does he turn the sun and stars toward our existence? It is not, young one, that you loved, even if your voice was yanked out of your mouth. Learn to forget that you sang out. It is finished. In true singing, it's a different breeze, a breeze about nothing, a drafting God, a wind. In these poems, the sonnets to Orpheus are, Rilke referred to them as a gravestone for this young dancer who died of leukemia at 19. And he was he had known her when she was a child, and was the playmate of his daughter. So he was very moved when she died at 19. He didn't really know her that well, but that's kind of in the tradition of elegies. You don't have to know somebody real well. So this is Sonnet Series 1, 5. Erect no headstone. Let the rose bloom each year for his grace. Then Orpheus exists. His metamorphosis in this and this. We should not trouble ourselves about another name. One for all time is Orpheus when he sings. He comes and goes. It's not too much when he comes through the Rose Bowl sometimes for a couple of days. Oh, how he must wane so that you understand. And even when he himself fears that he wanes, in that his word surpasses our being, he is barely there where you cannot go along. The grid of the lyre does not force his hands, and he complies in that he transcends. And then I want to read one from the second series. There are like about 50 some odd of these sonnets, and he wrote them in about 3 weeks. He wrote to the great intellectual Lou Andreas Salome. He said, I felt like all that was like framework in me bent and cracked. Yeah. So this is Sonnets to Orpheus, second series, number 13. Be before all departing, as though it were behind you, like the winter going out just now. For among winters is one so endlessly winter that your overwintering heart barely pulls through. Be dead always in Eurydice. Rise and sing, stand and praise, climbing to your purest frequency. Here, with what's winking out, be ruled by entropy, be a ringing glass that shatters as it rings. Be, and know full well the condition of non-being, the endless ground of your inner shiver shimmering, that you may fulfill to the utmost your one moment. To all things spent and to the dumbstruck and mute, multiplied from nature's fullness to the unsayable sums, number yourself, joyfully added, and zero out the balance. And then I want to do one more translation. And this one is a translation of Wolfgang von Goethe's Selige Sehnsucht, Blessed Longing. Say it to no one. Oh, I forgot to mention. The tricky translation part of this poem is that Schmetterling is the same word in German for moth and for butterfly. When Robert Bly translated it, he used butterfly, but there's a time where the flying insect is attracted to light or fire. So in my mind, you can't use butterfly, although butterflies are a great symbol of transformation. So are moths. So, blessed longing. Say it to no one, only the wise, for the crowd derides it all the same. I praise what is truly alive, what longs to die in flame. In the cool love nights where you were begotten, where you have begotten, a strange feeling falls over you as the silent candle burns. No more do you stay steeped in the darkness, shadowing, and a new desire has swept you up to higher lovemaking. No distance is too difficult for you to come, flying and spelled, until at last, eager for the light, you are the moth to the fire impelled. So long as you haven't experienced this, the dying and the rebirth, you are only a troubled guest on the dark earth. So, as Richie mentioned, we are in the midst of planning a memorial, a celebration of life for Donna. I'll have more on that when I get more news of it. And I do, yes, as Richie mentioned, I do have a new book coming out in June of 2023, and it's called Ridge of High Pressure. And it's all about me taking my dog on a walk and reflecting about the weather and the climate. And it's the landscape of El Paso plays a big part in it. Back when me and the dog could walk.
Oh, thank you, Robin. I really look forward to reading that, of course. And yes, any updates that you may have on that, we'd love to hear that. And of course, I mean, this goes without saying, but I should say it anyway. If you guys do need help with sound or audio or anything like that for the memorial, you know, I'm always there for that. Or even just documenting it, I'm there for that as well.
Thank you, Richie.
Yeah, just let me know as long as I'm free. That's the other thing. That's the harder issue. Like, oh no, days are running out of time and free time. Anyway, Thank you. Lovely tributes. Yes, I think her absence is still felt by many of us. Of course, and will be felt for a while. So keep the tributes coming and working on it in our own way. People are still kind of reaching out to me as they find out about her. So, by the way, yeah, you were talking about Goethe, and it reminded me in grad school when I wrote an analysis of part two of Faust, and I had to name it the Faust and the Furious. I had to. Dumb, it's so dumb, but it was great. I had a great time. That was a fun class. We went to London that year. Good times. Okay, so let's see. Looking at the list, we are gonna jump around from El Paso to one of our friends in the time zone. In fact, it's their time zone technically when we look at technology. We're gonna go to Denver and visit our friend Mike Sindler, who is ruminating so greatly on kitchen utensils right now and cutlery and cool avocado slicers. All right, Mike, how you doing? I'm just gonna shut up and pass it over to you.
Hey, we're more than happy to let you share our time zone. It's there's space for all of us. You will note I put some stuff, man. Get the light out of my face. I put some stuff in the chat as far as a few things I got coming up. What's today? I guess it's Wednesday. I have open mic that I'm featuring at, and another one on Halloween that I'm featuring at. Both of those are in England, so they're early in the day. So if you have other stuff going on, you can still maybe catch those. And I will be doing Tumble Words this coming Saturday. And that being said, as always, I want to point out lighthousewriters.org. We were having a great discussion a little bit before this about all the wonderful things they do. And for all of y'all out there in YouTube land, one thing they're doing from the 15th to the 18th this month is they're having a queer creatives retreat for teens, for LGBT plus teens, to have a safe space to come and create and form community, which I think is just such an incredibly positive and important thing to do. And that's just one of so many things that they do. It's really a great organization. Like Robin, I am a little humbled by the idea of dealing with Indigenous Peoples Day as a white male person. And it's easy to go, oh, my people weren't here, they didn't do that, but I still have the privilege based on all of those people. And that's something we always have to remember. And so I'm going to start with the piece that kind of deals with that. I think it's one of the very first pieces I ever read here a couple years ago. And it's called John Wayne's Grave. And I apologize in advance for my very iffy pronunciation of some native tribes. The epigraph goes, I don't feel like we did wrong in taking this great country away from them, if that's what you're asking. Our so-called stealing of this country from them was just a matter of survival. There are great numbers of people who needed new land, and the Indians were selfishly trying to keep it for themselves. John Wayne, Playboy magazine interview, May 1971. The grave in which John Wayne resides was stolen from a native tribe. Loezano, Quahila, Cupinho, Wajenos, and Gabrielinos were there before the whites arrived and stole their land, their faith, their lives. Chanting praises to Sainted Domingo, the Spanish said, convert or go. The American Treaty of 1848 should, in theory, have improved the state of lives for the indigenous, but Promises were less solid than dust. The pledges to protect Indian land rights was broken almost overnight. In 1852, all pretense abandoned. Natives were pushed into deserts and canyons. These became the reservations, filled beyond overpopulation, where smallpox and other diseases ran amok and fatalities increased. In 1907, Marion Mitchell Morrison, later to be known as John Wayne, was born in the Iowa town of Winterset, to the Indians' lasting regret. For when, as an adult, the films he made, the worst stereotypes were portrayed: drunk, bloodthirsty, lying in wait for pioneers, subjects of audiences' hate. This was how the first people were seen, denying the whites their American dream. He was the standard by whom men were measured. He should have instead been tarred and feathered. And moving on, is there any way I could get you to set me up with a share screen there, buddy? Yeah, tell me when.
All right, you're good to go.
Okay, let's see if this works. Okay, now this is a painting that's in the National Museum of Western Art, American Museum of Western Art here in Denver. It's by a painter by the name of Walter Hooper, who, as opposed to a lot of the people who painted in Santa Fe and Planking and Taos, the two artist communities, he actually had a much better relationship with the people he painted. But nonetheless, this piece inspired this poem. It's called A Moment's Rest. Sort of reminded me of how it felt for me walking around these communities. Under gray bark tree and sheltering shade, commerce of pottery native hands have made. Passing tourists say, lazy Indians, and laugh, lumber along their way, trotting an ancient path. Praise for pretty urns, none for their makers. Lack of concern, ignoring their labor, up before the dawn, stoic in sweltering haze, still there when light is gone, same spot, countless days. The rich barter with the poor, thinking them worthless, no compassion for those whose art they purchase, begrudging even a moment of respite. They ridicule the heathens and with treasures exit. And I think I have a couple others, but I think I might just go ahead and I was, of course, all ready to read our ex-poet laureate's work, but Richie beat me to it. So then I thought, oh, I'll do some Natalie Diaz. And I looked at those, and they're either way too long, or if you're not familiar with Natalie Diaz, she has an incredible sense of, as a page poet, how to actually shape her poetry. I just think it's really well worth it. Anybody who's not familiar with Natalie Diaz, go ahead and look for her and actually see how her stuff looks on the page. It's much better than listening to me read it. So moving down the list, I went to another of my favorite writers, which is Louise Erdrich, and thought I'd read one of hers called I Was Sleeping Where the Black Oaks Move, which I thought went with that last poem in a way. We watched from the house as the river grew, helpless and terrible in its unfamiliar body, wrestling everything into it. The water wrapped around trees until their life hold was broken. They went down one by one, and the river dragged off their covering. Nests of the herons, roots washed to bones, snags of soaked bark on the shoreline, a whole forest pulled through the teeth of the spillway, trees surfacing singly where the river poured off into arteries for fields below the reservation. When at last it was over, the long removal, they had all become the same dry wood. We walked among them, the branches whitening in the raw sun. Above us drifted herons alone, hoarse-voiced, broken, settling their beaks among the hollows. Grandpa said, "These are the ghosts of the tree people moving among us, unable to take their rest." Sometimes now we dream our way back to the heron dance. Their long wings are bending the air into circles through which they fall. They rise again in shifting wheels. How long must we live in the broken figures their necks make, narrowing the sky? Okay, well, I appreciate it. And, as I say, I agree with Robin that we're sort of interlopers even, trying to celebrate this holiday that never should have been distorted into something about some Italian guy who came over and ruined things. So thank you.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, it's also good to consider, right? Like our place for conversation on the table. And honestly, when it comes to this, I just think it is worth talking about because so many of my students today, like I had other plans like for teaching and we were already doing stuff and just casually want like at the beginning of class, I always like to just talk to my students, talk with them. And a lot of them did not know why Indigenous Peoples Day is kind of becoming this, and as opposed to Columbus Day, and a lot of them still kind of repeated the same heroic myths that they talk about when they talk about Columbus, and so I kind of had to like pump the brakes and just share, some of the stuff we know now about Columbus and why we want to instead focus on indigenous people as a kind of like move away from that, and again just like what it means to like decolonize in our creative work. So yeah, in that case, I think any chance we have to talk about it is worth it because you never know when you might pick up someone's ear who hadn't heard about that yet. Okay, so we're gonna go from Denver to DC. Maybe not for the last time tonight, but he's been coming through again, and it's always a pleasure to hear his work. He does some really cool creative work, not just in writing, but his pictographs there. And he's rocking the BWOMS shirt as well, which I really love. I got to start rocking mine again. But let's go ahead and welcome to the stage Parquillian. What is going on, my friends? How are you today? You're muted.
Okay, sorry. I'm trouble seeing the buttons. I'm going to go off camera so I can navigate better without just writing my word here. Yeah, actually, I'm wearing my Wave T-shirt today. I was wearing BWOMS last time. I thought I'd start with a poem I wrote at Tumblewords a few weeks ago, calling this Cooking Lessons. At 12, I joined a 4-H club that met each week at London Grove, the Quaker meeting I call my home. Ruth Thompson taught a group of us boys how people would cook in colonial times. We sampled some candied calamus root, made Johnny cakes and shaker ginger ale, invented a hybrid mixed berry slump we fondly christened London Grove slop. It's years since I've made it back to that home, but now in the heart of these pandemic days, through the magic of Zoom and the internet, I get to see Ruth on my iPhone screen, still teaching the lessons she's learned through the years at the age of 103. And then I have one here that I wrote at another workshop, Nick Paleologos's Right to the Mic. I think the first time I was on there. And in a way, it connects in with today's issues, the issues about the holiday we're celebrating or just observing. I remember the scent of chestnuts. They'd roast over open flames and then would sell in paper bags in the courtyard of the Brandywine River Museum, across the highway from the John Chad House, for whom the historic Chad's Ford was named, with its beehive oven where they baked the yeasters and old-style cornbread. My mother worked in the museum cafe for a while, behind the gift shop where they sold the prints of 3 generations of art the Wyeth family made, that filled the halls and walls of the mill the museum used to be. These grounds, however, were once the domain of the Unami, a Lenape people who lived on the land and taught the Quakers and others who settled there to harvest the natural bounty that grew all around. But they were gradually taken away through force and fear and disease from the beauty of this land, till Indian Hannah was the last one left, or so the story is commonly told. And now the stone that marks the spot where her home once stood is harder to find, since they rerouted the road to build an extension to Longwood Gardens to create a native meadow field. But it's a pale imitation of what used to be. And I thought I'd finish with one I wrote many years ago when one of the few mornings I actually woke up before dawn to get ready for school, and this just came to me. Call it Dawn Chorus. Sort of an experiment in meter. Golden moon, morning soon. And now from nearby thistle, a mockingbird gives whistle, warbling forth its vibrant tune, up to greet the falling moon. Killdeer chime in their call, the night's adjourning, as smaller birds sing thanks that day's returning. Katydids fade from the chorus that grows like a gathering storm. All the world wakens to welcome and herald the fast nearing morn. With twitters and chirps and laughs and with sighs that burst through the broadening twilight, the creatures of earth give praise to the light that gradually grows in their eyesight. While the wisps of swirling mists that hover are lifted from the lawn, rising echoes hold their breath for a beat, for the rose of a brilliant dawn. Thank you very much.
Oh, and thank you. Is there anything you'd like to promote right now? I know you have your website and always lots of cool things going on as well.
Yeah, you can find my designs on parkquillian.com as always, and I can put all the information in the chat.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, Park Quillian. Yeah, love that. The wave, pretty cool. Man, has anyone ever tried a Zoom wave? All right, ready, go. No, okay, no, it didn't work. Failed miserably. That's what I thought would happen. Okay. Okay. We're gonna go ahead and bring it up to Kit. Welcome, Vale, by the way. Good to see you. And shout out as well, Jacob, for sticking around for the QEP passport program. If you're watching right now on YouTube and you're an EPCC student, send us a message or shoot us a message in the live chat, and we'll try and get a hold of you so we can get you that code. We're going to go ahead and come back to El Paso and bring it to Mr. Monday Night, who hosts this from time to time. And he is only one of 2 other peeps here that have been here 100% of the time. That's right, 100% attendance award. We still give those out, even in adulthood. All right, but it's not for anything lame like a job or anything like that. It's for doing poetry and being a part of a badass community. So let's go ahead and pass the mic over to Kit Rand. Go and take it away, man.
Thank you, Richie. Thank you, everyone. I assume is applauding at home. Just sitting in your little screen going, yeah. Okay. Some of mine and then a cover poem, including one I'm not 100% confident in, but we'll get to that when we get to it. But first, I thank God for the prose poem. I thank God for a backdoor into the heritage of poetry. The prose poem is a scholarship program for the musically indifferent, rhythmically challenged, formally indolent. I am equally thankful for its identical cousin, flash fiction. I switch which one I mean based on who I'm talking to, glad-handed like a city council. I don't have to babysit characters to an end like a Harry's novelist. I owe them nothing. I introduce them and move on, like the host of a huge party. I forage without taking a plate. I rhyme, but only when I feel like it. I drink and the wine becomes blood in my stomach. I trip and the trip becomes a metaphor. I accidentally cut my palm and the bandage thanks me for my honesty and vulnerability. Everyone in the ballroom is dancing with a different scrap of clothing they all take to be me. They can't all be right, but they're dancing. Nobody can fact check a dancer. And here's one I wrote Saturday. Saturday was the great Amanda Villanueva hosting Tumblewords. Very great experience. Big fans of Amanda over here. I wish we hadn't made such a point of correcting the historical record and lionizing the writers who were secrets and who died young and undiscovered. It has made today's writers secretive and death-driven, filled with questions like, how can I be Kafka if people like me now? How can I be important if people enjoy me in the moments? If I don't die young, will I ever be famous? It turns out I am not writing for the ages. It turns out nobody is. Literary reputation, like most of the rest of history, is accident and calamity, a kitchen fire that smells delicious. All the days I sat dreaming with satisfaction of a professor securing himself to the tenure track with a study of my notebooks. The fact that those notebooks were blank did not pierce the logic of the dream, did not spur me, as it should have, to desperate alarmed action. And decided on this one, it's written October 1st with Shaki Chi. We'll call it Bienvenidos after Timothy Donald. And skip the beginning. I haven't really reworked this one. I just thought with Indigenous Peoples Day, this actually ended up being appropriate, but it's still very raw. It's still not ready for prime time, but who cares? Welcome to El Paso. Bienvenidos a El Paso, the banners say. And soon your hands will know the frigidity of what passes for winter in the scabbed over carapaces of the Southwest, where the water is tinged with the natural depository of lithium, where the conquistador Juan de Oñate is said to have held the first Thanksgiving, when hunger and madness mixed into a perfectly molecularly balanced solution and made the brutal conquistador and his men feast on their own horses. One must assume that taste did not enter the decision-making matrices, and neither did the statue, 12 feet high, atop a horse with flame broiling in its future, a statue sitting outside of El Paso International Airport, a statue which is periodically vandalized by painting the right foot a vivid hemoglobinous red In revenge for the hundreds, the thousands, the in-point of methodology never counted Tigua Indians that Juan de Oñate and his starving madmen mutilated, right foot first. Reprimanded even by the stomachless Spanish government for applying the trade of the butcher to the rhyming trade of the colony, who greets everyone at the El Paso International Airport atop his doomed, slightly annoyed horse under the unconvincing sobriquet of the equestrian, as if this was all a misunderstanding, as if his only wish on April 30th, 1596, Ascension Day in the Julian calendar, the day he claimed unseen the land of the eventual American Southwest for the crown of Spain, had been room for a game of polo. And I fucking hate that statue. Goddamn, I hate that goddamn statue. And for the cover poem, I alluded to this in the chat when Michael brought her up, and I agree with him that Natalie Diaz is a fantastic, I'm not quite sure how old she is, but she's younger. She's, not in like the Harjo, Naomi Shibab Nye, be careful with them age. But this, and it's Indigenous Peoples Day, and it's also Millennial Christmas, Halloween, and this one is quite a frightening story. This is The Facts of Art by Natalie Diaz. Woven black basket with sunflower design, Hopi, Arizona, before 1935, from an American Indian basketry exhibit in Portsmouth, Virginia. The Arizona highway sailed across the desert, a gray battleship drawing a black wake, halting at the foot of the Orange Mesa, unwilling to go around. Hopi men and women, brown and small and clay-like, peered down from their tabletops at yellow tractors, water trucks, and white men blistered with sun, red as fire ants, towing sunscreen-slathered wives and glinting Airstream trailers in caravans behind them. Elders knew these BIA roads were bad medicine, knew too that young men listened less and less, and these young Hopi men needed work. Hence, set aside their tools, blocks of cottonwood root and half-finished kashari, the clown katsinas, then signed on with the Department of Transportation, were hired to stab drills deep into the earth's thick red flesh on First Mesa, drive Grant-sparking blades across the mesa's faces, run the drill bit so deep they smoked, bearding all the Hopi men in white. Bad spirits, said the elders. The blades caught fire, burned out. Messiah is angry, the elders said. New blades were flown in by helicopter, while elders dreamed their arms and legs had been cleaved off and their torsos were flung over the edge of a dinner table. The young Hopi men went back to work cutting the land into large chunks of rust. Nobody noticed at first. Not the white workers, not the Indian workers, but in the mounds of dismantled mesa among the clods and piles of sand lay the small gray bowls of baby skulls. Not until they climbed to the bottom did they see the silvered bones glinting from the freshly sliced dirt and rock wall, a mausoleum mosaic, a sick tapestry, the tiny remains roused from death's dusty cradle, cut in half, cracked, wrapped in time-tattered scraps of blankets. Let's call it a day, the white foreman said. That night, all the Indian workers got sad drunk, got sick, while elders sank to their kivas in prayer. Next morning, as dawn festered on the horizon, state workers scaled the mesas, knocked at the doors of pueblos that had them, hollered into those without them, demanding the Hopi men come back to work, and begging them, then buying them whiskey, begging again, finally sending their white wives up the dangerous trail etched into the steep sides to buy baskets from Hopi wives and grandmothers as a sign of treaty. When that didn't work, the state workers called the Indians lazy, sent their sun hat wearing wives back up to buy more baskets, katsinas too, then called the Hopis good for nothings before begging them back once more. We'll try again in the morning, the foreman said. But the Indian workers never returned. The BIA's and DOT's calls to work went unanswered as the fevered Hopi stayed huddled inside, the small bones half buried in the crevices of mesa in the once holy darkness of silent earth and always night, smiled or sighed beneath the moonlight, while white women in Airstream trailers wrote letters home, praising their husbands' patience, describing the lazy savages, such squalor in their stone and plaster homes, cobs of corn stacked floor to ceiling against crumbling walls, their devilish ceremonies, and the barbaric way they buried their babies. Oh, and those beautiful, beautiful baskets.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Kit. And of course, you've just performed Alchemy, rocking the jersey. How'd the game turn out?
1 point victory for the Chiefs.
Well, they pulled it
I
off.
can't just-
Alrighty then. So
And-
tell us, the fine people here tuning in for the first time, where they can find you.
Okay, we got Instagram at Kit Ran Away and Twitter at Kit Talk Sports, where things are a little different. Kofi.com/Kit Ren, where things are a lot different. Where I'm doing prose instead of poetry. And it's also about football. Facebook, easy enough. You want to drop something in the tip jar, my PayPal's connected to my email. And the Tumble Word schedule for the rest of the month. So I have this lovely little tote bag. This Saturday, as he already mentioned, Michael Sindler will be hosting, and he is entitled that workshop Tears Keep Falling. I'm sure it'll be a valuable experience for everyone who's able to come. The week after that is the 22nd, and that is Heather Franklin out of Western New Mexico. That's called Embracing the Crone, another spooky season type of title. And the 29th, our annual Dia de los Muertos workshop with poet and playwright Raquel Mejia. Okay, that's all I've got today, Richie. We'll see you.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you. All right. I know we always fight, especially when it's your turn. We always fight with the replace spotlight button. Alrighty then. Thanks you again. And again, thanks for everyone who's tuning in right now on live stream or on the replay. Happy to have you here. We do this every week. So if this is your first time tuning in, you can actually go back and check out our YouTube channel for our archive of a bunch of shows. The chat wave. Oh yeah. Oh, the chat wave too. It made it all the way to the YouTube chat. Now it's never too late. That's the cool thing about being virtual. If you just do that, it just becomes part of the wave for all time. Alrighty then. Let's go ahead and continue. Yeah, great pieces, Kit. Thank you for sharing those. Very cool. We're gonna go ahead and bring up one of our favorites. They always come with some fire. You know, something that always teaches me something, right? New word or makes me feel something. So let's go ahead and bring up to the mic Vale Larkin. What's going on, Vale? Hey there.
How you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good. I got some good news. My play is going to be put on in New York City, which is 6th Street in Manhattan, which is near Broadway. Okay, I've got a couple here today, a new one and then a prose poem. Thanks, Kit. The Fool. One day I woke up and said, what would happen if I took them off? My carefully crafted matte faces, my masks to make the world like me more. I tried it, unpeeled a layer with my nails and spit out a truth in a crowd full of strangers. The applause was unexpected. I tried it again, brought guilt, brought lurid lust and glitter-bright greed, and the most dreadful wishes for power, acclaim, and understanding. Wonder and worship are weird things from the lips of comrades. Once more, I opened my mouth as wide as it would, vomited a torrent of truth from my deepest well of shame, watched it drain away, and when I had voided my heart, lungs, and entrails, turned to my friend who had burst into tears and sympathetically dragged truth from their own core, poured it out, and sobbed in relief with me. 10 minutes of scrubbing and all those shamed years drained, purified, and set in new frames. Truths are like doorways that always stay open. Truths are like windows as clear as the air. Truths give us waypoints to find all our wanderings. Truth gives us swaddling to soothe and to succor. And anywhere we go, they go. And anyone we know grows through them, and still we run faster than meaning to elude them. The applause clatters like footsteps running away. Worship is misdirected. Catharsis is nothing. Wholeness is alone. A pure heart is impermeable. The world eats its young. And life, it ends, my lovelies. There is a truth for all of us. And I'm going to do this piece, which is a little different. I can't remember if I've done this here before, possibly. Quick background, Sumerian mythology, a goddess named Tiamat is the creator goddess. As time goes by, other religions rise. Tiamat is downgraded to a chaos demon. And now she's basically unknown. She's no longer worshipped anywhere in the world. So this is kind of her story. Tiamat. They came in those first days to praise me. Their songs flowed from the land, pouring into my seas like the sweetest wine, and their gifts were toothsome and redolent. I was glad I had created them. They fashioned images of me to keep me always with them. In their eyes I saw myself as if for the first time, and I was not displeased. Fine and shining were my adamant scales, and the towering breadth of me, and my multifarious appendages would have been a mountain range on land. I was a mountain regardless in the sea. But then there are ranges unseen beneath the deepest trench, deeper than Hades, and known by no man in any time. Hades came after, but do not be misled. I still saw it born. In time, I was unhappy with them. Seeing their complexities, they had disdained them. They had split themselves in two, as though two would suffice, and few souls remained complete. So too did they divide me, and fashioned with their clever hands a husband for me, another half, as they said, as though my overwhelming magnitude was still too scant for them. Ripping themselves apart, they came after me with their knives in their hands to make me like them. Fractured, broken, unworthy of wholeness. I loved them, but nevertheless I instructed them. I make my own worlds from the chaos I have from the seed I have brought forth from the chaos, and she is no mere spouse. So I slashed and I tore until every last idol crumbled. Their worship changed after that. No longer were their songs like honey wine, but deep beneath I heard it, their rage, their resentment, for I had wanted them to be themselves when this was a thing most uncomfortable for them. The ones who found it hardest seemed to me to be the weakest, always using their hands against others and throwing their loudest voices around to avoid hearing any dissent around them. And yet, how they rose, those violent children, those who would fight dust if it frightened them, and keep fighting, and instead of ever confessing that their fear was their own, how they fought. They began to attribute things to me that did not belong to me. Madness, death, and the twisted nightmares of shattered men. It is gloriously true that I brought the great chaos with me, the maelstrom from which all life forms, for she has within her the essence of every last thing created by me or any other god. Their chaos, however, was a void, a nothingness in their being that meant they could never be relied upon, for they would never be as they were clearly meant to be, and so might do anything at all. Their wars became more brutal and inventive. This they laid at my shore, as though I should know it. I attenuated them as I had done to their priapic totems. And so they came to fear me, for I bring not peace, but the tide, the current, the whirlpool, the tsunami. I bring the overwhelming wholeness of creation, and the incomplete flee before me. My vastness is the vastness of the universe, my scales like grinding stones, my wings night, and my gaze the agony of vision. I have seen the luminous morass at the center of reality, and I have rejoiced. I have not found pieces of my children lying broken on the ground. My world undone. I retreated once more into the sea. They lived, the remnants, and multiplied as life does. They made more idols, and soon my stories were all of horror and destruction, which I suppose was no more than I deserved. I became the great beast, the devourer at the end of the world, the nothingness to which all must fall. Even glorious chaos was pushed into the shadows alongside me, their mother, monstrous. One day I heard a new tale, a story of a dragon in the sea who, grieving the death of her mate, had decimated humankind. The story, told by an old man to a group of small children, spoke of a valiant warrior, a legend among his kind, though unknown to me. This fractured man had found her, and finding her had killed her, and killing her had separated her body and used it to fashion the earth and the sky. My voice rising. They have stolen my gift to them. I did not think it possible. They have raped me into pieces. Creation was my joy, my great gift to itself, but a gift twisted becomes its antithesis. The children prospered, the shattered children most of all. Those broken by their own hand, those broken by me. I faded from worship, and then from fear, and then even from memory. My prayers and paeans, incomprehensible scratches on sand-scoured stones. My people rededicated, my gifts claimed as their own. And yet, from chaos did they come, and to chaos will they go. My offspring have taken another parent, and they will not willingly return to me. But children do not create mothers, no matter their imaginations. They, and whatever spawn they bear, and whatever worlds they manifest, effervesce. They seethe and breathe and rise only to fall back spent into my waiting arms. To the fate of all things, to chaos. Home.
That was an epic reading. Oh wait, you got muted, or did you mute yourself?
Probably. Thank you.
Okay. So I think you were gonna add to that, right? Or
What?
or maybe not. So I know you were talking about congratulations too on getting the play. I know you've mentioned to some of us like after the live stream. Do you want to maybe for viewers just kind of like mention what it's about and like the importance of the play? If you might, if you don't want
Sure,
to, that's fine.
sure. The play is called Words of the Prophets, and it's a one-act play about 5 homeless characters. The production is going to be a kind of a instructional feature We're going to do a performance of the play, and then there's going to be a panel discussion talking about the issues raised by the performance and educating the audience.
All right, great. I'm glad it's finally been approved, and they're looking forward to hearing
I
how
can
that
make a
goes.
more detailed announcement when the press release is out, and then I can say where it is and all that.
Perfect. Cool. Appreciate that. Thank you, Vil, so much. Glad you were able to join us today as well. I see you got some nice drink there. Cheers. Salud. Okay. We are gonna stick in there and go to Washington, D.C. and visit our friend. I was kind of concerned. He wasn't here. He wasn't signed up. He's kind of another one who's kind of always here, and so when he misses, we're all concerned. Like, oh no, is everything all right? Someone call him. Who's got his number? One of those things. But he signed up last minute, so he's got some jokes and poetry, and as always, he's got them rhymes. Ladies and gents, beautiful enemies, let's go ahead and welcome Ed Poetastic to the stage. What's up, Ed?
Thank you, my brother, for another one with Words of Thunder. Woo! Thank you for having me here. I'm sorry, this day was unbelievable, but thank you for having me so where hearts can explode. All right, my name is Ed Potasco. I feel fantastic. Please get a time to control my rhyme for output sublime. I got 6 jokes and I got 3 poems, so you know you're gonna rhyme. My first joke is, what do you call an angry Mr. Potato Head? Hot potato. Why do Freddie and Mike Myers love to shop at Kmart? Because it's killer prices. What was the raccoon's name? Bandit. What happened to the blind mice? I don't know, but he didn't see it coming. What did Oscar said about his home? It's a huge dump. And last but not least, what's black and white and red all over? A skunk with a bad fever. Thank you. I got 3 poems. My first poem is called Eternal Ink. Poetry is fruit for the soul. Poetry is water to the seeds. Poetry is soil to the plants. Poetry is fire to the sun. Poetry is wind to the birds. Poetry is thunder to the storms. Poetry is rain to the oceans. Poetry is sand to the desert. Poetry is lava to the volcanoes. Poetry is plants in deep. Poetry are planets in deep space. Poetry is light to the darkness. Poetry are the crabs to the beach. Poetry is gas to a car. Poetry is sound to the deaf. Poetry is knowledge to a scholar. Poetry is zen to a monk. Poetry is stars to an astronomer. Poetry is God to a preacher. Poetry is work to a workaholic. Poetry is wand to a wizard. Poetry is rod to a fisher. Poetry is sword to Poetry is a sword to a samurai. Poetry is pen to a writer. Poetry is philosophy to a thinker. Poetry is book to a reader. Poetry is tractor to a farmer. Poetry are animals to a zookeeper. Poetry is food to a chef. Poetry is stage to an actor. Poetry is student to a teacher. Poetry is money to a banker. Poetry is clay to a sculptor. Poetry is music to a composer. Poetry is a ring to a boxer. Poetry is color to an artist. Poetry is notes to a singer. Poetry is beat to a rapper. Poetry is piano to a pianist. Poetry is oxygen to the earth. Poetry is hearing to the blind. Poetry is blood from me to you. Thank you. And this next one is called. The next one is called Seasonal Love. Your summer breeze danced around my pale tundred heart. Your blazing essence mold it into radiant and luminous art. The blessed melody sung by the flowers and bees sounds so sweet. I admire your dashing outfit from your head to your feet. Your radiant smile always keeps me instantly at ease. But honey, what's wrong with the trees? I hope it's not fall's orange disease. We walk through noisy, crisp, and delicate orange leaves as we watch the stripped trees just weave, and weave. Sweetie, looking at the overgrown pumpkins is almost a nightmarish Halloween as you and I and children dressed as scary yet whimsical fiends. Your colorful scarf looks fluffier than a foxtail. Honey, do you feel that? It feels like bone-chilling frigid hail. Looks so tantalizing in the humid and passing weather. Hopefully now snowy winter, it will get even better. The frigid blanket covered the green lands and in the blue sky. The chirping birds, quacking ducks, and honking geese starts to fly. I can hear your warming voice in the chilling air. You're my organic heat while I'm your brown bear. The tiny snowflakes falling down, making large and lumpy marshmallows. The creatures slowly going down to sleep in their earthly barrows. I love you in the blazing summer, crisp fall, and chilling winter, and revival in spring. Just like the seasons, our love has red swings, orange flings, white stings, and green sings. All right. And I got one more for Encore Forevermore. This is called Bare Naked Truth. We're exposed poets. We stand naked every day. Oh, come on, you know it. We're in shades any day. You know it. No denying it. Our emotional full display. You have to quickly admit we all write bare essays. Our words really hit, flushed out the inner gray. Yes, we're naked. Don't quit. Shine your golden ray. I know some feel sick. Show the world the way. Hope it can really click. Chip away the hardened clay. Keep crushing those bricks. Hope we're ever going astray. Perform those emotional tricks. Make the inner trauma delay. Give back one for those pricks. Make the thunderstorms decay. Change the form of skeptics. Acceptance. No more betrays. Support that man or chick. A shock of the collars obey. Make a person I stick. Give advice in life's disarrays. Remove those small annoying ticks. Bare naked insight you betray. You're naked. Everything is okay.
Dig it, Ed. I wasn't sure if that was the mic drop ending or if you were loading up a new piece. What you got going on this week? Anything that you're hosting or you want to promote?
I love to promote this also with Mike that makes our Monday night such a delight in this wonderful spotlight. Nothing new that I'm hosting. I'm just going to open mic because it's such a delight to spill words of all my might.
Dig it, man. Dig it. Always with a good one. Appreciate you, man. Enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll be here hanging out a little bit too for a bit. All right.
Thank you, my brother, for another month with Words of Thunder. Woo!
With Words of Thunder. I'm telling you, man. I'm gonna add that to my resume. Ed Potastic, Words of Thunder. That's right. It's approved. He said it, so it must be true. All right. Thank you, Ed. We're going to go ahead and go to the West Coast, where it's a little earlier tonight. And we're going to drop in and get some poetry and music in Los Angeles from our favorite Chicano poets where class is in session. Let's go ahead and welcome back to the stage, Mr. Teso Somok. What's going on, man?
What's up, Richie?
Yo.
Hey, can you share the screens? Probably
Yeah.
better because all right, can you see that?
Let's see.
All right, so this is the beefed up version of what we had last week. So here we go. I'm not Juan Colorado, nor El Aventurero, not even Yorcuaco, El Huracán. Where's Pochteca, border bandits, perverting the master's language with our counter-discourse dealers, counter-discourse, street corner discourse dealers, the perverts undermining, dismantling, sexploding the discontinuous terrains formed by a history of exclusion and disposition. Chicanx must be more than a non-existent function of surplus of the symbolic, more than the imposters over our reality. This is our counter-discourse against the grain of oppression, against mastery, against prestige, against expertise, against categorical stereotype enforcers, against the gatekeepers with assumed agency as tools of history and normative dominant signifiers. This is not performative Les Miserables, not teatro campesino of the embodied self, no rascuache payasadas of solidarity, performative agency, struggling to gild the overlord's pathos. While we possum play the oppressed and subaltern as praxis maneuver to theorize the futility of politics of empowerment, the politics of empowerment are already staged. The viewer is compelled to assume that the scene they witness is staged for their eyes. Their gaze was included in it from the very beginning. The viewer is forced to face desire at work in their natural gaze. The problem with the eye is that the subject identifies as pure gaze, the abstract point which gazes at others. The hermeneutic grids beyond singularities that we inflect are our pinche polyglasia, es mi pinche power, putos. Marginality saddles us between the old and the pomo. Here, pomo is the postmodern, deploying operative pluralist utopias against radical heterotopias via the logic of exclusion in the former and singularity in the latter. Liberal pluralism co-ops. Pomo uses the marginal for his or her own subversive potential. While you feel you have excluded us from the Sleepy Lagoon postmodern party with insistence of inclusion with lexical differences, we continue to highlight the highly discontinuous texture terrains of cultural production. The Pomo party of alterity renders invisible the social mediation and neutralizes our social critical potential. The albañiles, the Manuel labor, ladrillo after ladrillo, constructing identity, culture, community against the Pomo cartography. We're old rucos. We know that Janice, head payaso, smile now, cry later, strategies that simply appropriate, remarginalize the oppressed, chavaleándonos como subjects that form the social historical margin. When our continued existence, our real, infringes the good housekeeping and maintenance of your fantasy trauma. We can finally do away with the allegorical staging of your benevolent sadism between our marginality and the master complex, and ties jouissance of surplus signifiers etch-a-sketched on our raflas. Don't misunderstand. This is not a case of naive reductionist search for the effective psychological foundation of artistic fiction. We're hopscotching the predatory paradoxical impulse toward revolutionary deconstruction and towards hard-won productions of meaning that disrupt social roles, aid or preclude gentification. The social economic impoverishment and exploitation of the community, where we convey something of the bravado. My gentificación as Chicanx configures minoritarian Nahualistic identity, evolves beyond the conditions of mestizaje, jettisons liberal humanist conjunctions, melting pot enrichment, self-inflicted violations, reifications of conquest, prescriptive fusions, rejects polyviolence, and embraces detextualization. Nuestro desmadre, our motherese, brings fresh voices, reinforcing multi-generation of Chicanx fluency that function to construct barrios, ghettos that transcend geography, time, and employ specificity of linguistic acts to weave our DNA through the discursive warps of localized speech acts. We are rabid rancheros enunciating a strategy between Pomo post-colonial concerns and dominant normative discursive formations. We are the metan commentary and the metan articulación, the cultural identity of outrage, sadness, cynical humor, right discursive practices traversing the borderlands, the self-inflicted migration of the nomadic subject, always becoming other, escapes the structures of discourses that history, culture, society, and economics binds to them a particular territorialization. No longer Chicomostoc, the 7Ks of Aztlan, nor the archaeological site of La Quemada in Zacatecas, Mexico, nor the Celestial Alta Vista Observatory located in Chalchihuites, Mexico, AD 100. Located near the Tropic of Cancer, one of the main astronomical observatories in Mesoamerica. Perfect observation of the sun equinoxes and solstices as you mow leaves of grass by the hills of Chapin and Pedregoso and Picacho. These migratory narratives provide counter after images that draw on history and simultaneously interrogate it. The xenophobia and genocides produce the individual as the migra agent of history, shedding the helplessness of racial blanching marks grafted from hot desert crossings, the debilitating dispossession of economic and cultural servitude. Now, the nomadic roach coach Aslan that centers Chicanx cultural and political practices can be found on any main thoroughfare where their power obelisks, propane tanks, always desiring our lunches with the burrito mechas, with the nostalgic bottle of Coca-Cola, with the flip cap, not twist off, with the real sugar and bottle in Mexico only. History destroys identity, prescribes, reifies narratives, leaving the lingering desire to remend history, to reconnect, to go back to an original moment, the Yankee sterile and personal cultural domination over First Nations bodies. Not to linger beyond the death of unoccupied territory, to be finally buried in Itechnotlatzi, Tlalpachiwi, Ipan, Terra Nostra, seeking out the voice of the collective at the threshold, Tlalpachiwi, to be embraced by the earth. Like the 8 million from the smallpox of 1520 to the 15 million from the salmonella enterica, known as Paratyphic C in 1545 to the final collapse of 2 million in 1576. We have survived meaningless play of empty historical signifiers or a neoconservative reinscription of regimes, such as the rabies that bites and spreads, frothing radicalness in the streets and the hearts and the confrontations. The mauling of Don Juan Rodriguez's mastiffs suffers as historically configured subjectivization, moving incessantly towards non-symbolic and semiotic, anti-Oedipal and nomadic frothing. Armaña, rascuachismo, our interpolation is the surplus signifier hystericized. The Volsterlung resparestans signifier that fills our collective void from the categorical lexical exclusion, misrepresentation, and becoming the unspeakable. We desire to move beyond the paradox of the Janus clowns, hysteric and psychotic. I'm not your inverse symmetrical counterpoint, the contingent retroactive inversion, not even your misrecognition. I do not perceive myself chosen by the big other, no false contingent act of recognition retroactively addressed by the Walter Mercados, taking contingent coincidences as obscure predictions as proof that the dominant discourse are talking about me. If melón and melambes were surplus signifiers, melón te lo vacía y melambes te lo llena.
Wow, some of those words, man.
Is that a PhD?
Poetic license.
Oh my God. Was that beefier than last time?
A nice Monday night treat.
You're like, damn, should have stayed home.
I'm glad I did.
Sandunga, Sandunga, mamá, por Dios. Sandunga, no seas ingrata, mamá de mi corazón. Antenoche fui a tu casa, 3 golpes le di al candado. Tú no sirves para amores, tienes el sueño pesado. Ay, Sandunga, Sandunga, mamá, por Dios. Sandunga, no seas ingrata, mamá de mi corazón. Me ofreciste acompañarme de la iglesia mi choza, pero como no llegabas, tuve que irme solo. Ay, Sandunga, Sandunga, mamá, por Dios. Sandunga, no seas ingrata, mamá de mi corazón. A la orilla del Papaloapan me estaba bañando ayer. Pasaste por las orillas y no quisiste ver. Ay, Sandunga, Sandunga, mamá, por Dios. Sandunga, no seas ingrata, mamá de mi corazón.
Yeah, well, that was really nice, man. I enjoyed that.
You like that?
Yeah. Awesome, man. So, what do you got coming up that you'd like to promote, share, celebrate on any of
I
those
gotta
things?
get ready for my Mexico City Slam. That's coming up, and so I'm finishing this chapter. I got one more chapter to do for chapter 8. So I'm working really hard to get that done so I can have my book when I go there. And that's my main focus right now. Lots of work. So I think chapter 7 looks pretty done. A little bit of minor cleanups. I get it translated to Spanish and then move on to chapter 8.
Very cool. When is the slam thing going down again?
The 24th November.
Sweet. That's going to be cool. Do you feel ready for that?
I think so. I just don't, I haven't memorized stuff, so that's the only part that I'm like, do I have to memorize this stuff? Because that's a lot of, I like to use my brain cells for something else since I have so little. I can't occupy them with something,
Oh man, you gotta incorporate that somehow. Yeah, this is the thing about slam. Like for some reason, like if it's memorized, it hits it. People like
Yeah. And I'm
favor it
like,
more.
man, I need every edge. I'm old, I'm worn out, and I'm fat. I don't got a lot of things going for me, you know?
That's why you're gonna win it. They won't expect it. No, I'm just kidding. No, that's gonna be awesome, man. Look forward to your preparation for that. Anything else? Of course, we can find you online, Gashes 2019.
Yeah, Facebook under Gaseous 2019, and then the Pandemic Poets set up, and then just working on that. I'm gonna be working really hard on Chapter 8 and getting that done, so I'm real close. I think I didn't like the first version last week because it felt really light. So I went and kind of beefed it up a little
Definitely
bit.
made it more. Yeah, this time around, that's some
Yeah, I
intense.
wanted to, it's like the climax of the book, right? Like you gotta have something that answers the questions, right? So I think this hits all the pistons, right?
Yeah,
It's like yeah, there's no
this,
question. Like yeah, I don't know. Like we're not messing around. Like this is it. Right?
absolutely. There's some very interesting ones there. All right, we'll come back to you,
All
man.
right.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight again.
Thank
As
you.
always, Tisasomok, everyone, go check out Gashes 2019. Also, check out the Pandemic Poets Facebook group if you guys want to be kept up to date with other things going on. Okay, so I'm looking at the list. A couple peeps couldn't make it out tonight. It's all right. It happens. We live our everyday lives, and sometimes we can make it, sometimes we can't. Sometimes we just don't have new stuff to share. But then sometimes it all just comes pouring out, and like you need the space. So we'll, as always, have the space for you when you do need it. So with that said, we're gonna go ahead and bring up our last performer, and maybe while he's performing, I'll look for maybe another piece or two to read. Shout out again to everyone on YouTube. Thank you for checking it out. If you are here for the EPCC QR code, shoot me an email, rdmarrufo@gmail.com, rdmarrufo@gmail.com. Without further ado, we're going to go ahead and bring up the man, not just any man, he is Dan the man. Go and take away, my friend. Here you go. Oh, you're muted, man. Oh no,
What?
your mic's still bad.
Bumble. Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Son of a bumble. Sorry.
Dude, I'm using that. Son of a bumble. Yo, we can't hear you again. No way. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. Technical issues will arise. Oh, we get a tour of his desk area. Oh, snap.
Ah, great.
All right, sounds a little better.
Okay, can you still hear me now?
Yes.
Good. Okay. All right, here it is. All right, here it is. Like I said, the City Magazine, Crystal Poppin, yeah, from last Thursday, City Magazine. Yeah. But oh, and I just did a special edition featuring Chris Poppin and once again Shelly Moselle of the City Magazine. Just been uploaded since yesterday, so check it out. Check out my interview. Okay. And I know last week I didn't do the October the Child's Calendar by John Updike, but it's because last week I know we lost one of BWOMS' own, and Donna Snyder, but God rest her soul, and yeah, we miss her so. But even though, allow me to go ahead and share this one with the Child's Calendar by John Updike. So give me a minute. Hold on. October. Hold on a minute.
Dan, I think this is more than just a dramatic pause. I think we lost him. Last couple shows have been adventures in technology. Wait, unless it's me who's lost. I cannot tell. Yo, okay. I think we lost him. No, it felt like we're in deep space and he was out there. He was on the line and space debris came through and cut the cord. And we're like, no, Dan, come back. We're losing you. And it's going to have to be, I know, very dramatic pause. So we'll see if he makes his way back. He often does read from the John Updike Children's Calendar. It's kind of a thing. And we got to figure out his tech things. The last couple of weeks have been Adventures in Tech with Dan. That is not the name of the show, just Dan the Man's Weekly, which is his own show, not even this one. It's like, hey, Dan, you're back.
I'm here. I'm
Okay.
here. I apologize.
Okay.
Sorry about that, guys. I don't know what the hell just happened.
Sounds like you're playing an old school Nintendo game.
Yeah.
All right, let's try this again.
Okay.
Take two.
Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. Again, let's try this again. October. The month is amber, gold and brown. Blue ghosts of smoke float through the town. Great letter V's of geese honk overhead, and maples turn a fiery red. Frost bites the lawn. The stars are slit in a black cat eye before she spits. At last, small witches, goblins, hags, and pirates armed with paper bags, their costume hinges on safety pins, go hunt a night of pumpkin. Here it is, the month of October, the Scout's calendar. All right. Okay. We're gonna go ahead and end it early, but I'm gonna wear something for I'm gonna wear a shirt for Halloween. It's gonna be a surprise for next Monday, and I'm gonna come up with something with a little bit of freestyle with the help of the rhyming dictionary, and a couple of more words of love by Riocos, the romantic things from Mexico. All right, guys. Yeah, before I go, happy birthday to one of my dearest best friends. Happy birthday to her, my lovely kids, and Veronica. Oh, and check out my special edition interview. I just uploaded with Crystal Poppin and Tell Moselle.
All right. Do the thing.
Okay, here it is. Read it and weep it. I'm behind posts on Twitter and Facebook. I didn't get a chance. I apologize. And I'm still catching up on Instagram, so check it out. But most importantly, find Dan the Man's Weekly on YouTube. Subscribe my channel. So, all right, don't miss it. Okay, guys. All right, guys. So this is it. I'll see. So if hey Richie, if I don't see you at Motor Bar tomorrow, I'll hope to see you. I don't know if I'm gonna be at the Craft Rhythm Brewers on Friday, but if not, I'll see you Monday. All right, next Monday. Not again. All right. Okay, Richie. Let's just go ahead and call it a night.
No. I'm gonna filibuster this damn thing until next Monday. I'm gonna skip all my events, all my things, just because I don't want to end it. Okay. What if I don't want to end it, Dan? No. Okay. Let's keep going.
You got
Appreciate
something to cover?
appreciate it,
You
Dan.
got some
All right.
covers you want to fill in? Okay. All
Yeah.
right, guys. I'll see you next Monday.
24-hour
thank
stream.
You,
Appreciate it,
all
Dan.
right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You know, I just have to defiantly not end the stream now. Okay. I want to read a piece that I haven't heard in a while. Okay, I'm going to mute you now. All right. Got a cover and stuff and covers. More covers. I unearthed one that I hadn't read in a while. So I'm going to try it out. Yeah, check it out. So this is one of mine. Just trying to make it a little easier to read here. Let poetry be poetry. I explained to a room full of students unaware of their own potential. It's a torrential discourse on the source and divorce of common sense from education. The course which pours through seams of dreams left in shambles, the children and mammals who've become adults, let's call them left behind. Come on in if you're willing to listen. We won't have to tell that the world, the moon, is shining when I can guide you through a glint of light and broken glass. In the lunchroom, people come and go, speaking of who you have to know. My heart blossomed in an instant of enthusiasm. I overheard the word galaxy, uttered the next table during my casual office hours in the school cafeteria. They were just talking about phones. I talk about phones too. But right now I wanted to talk about the galaxy. The galaxy. Clumsy guitar chords strummed in a chord in the air transform into magical Louis Bonfa melodies in the hazy red-eye underbelly of my distant reality, just in time to see the futility in eternity. Whatever happened to a time when knowledge was power and books were passports into the uncharted territories of passion and the imagination, to send the sensation of unsent incendiary letters into the better but unbent deflector sector of not so silent specters, because this is the kind of stuff that haunts you when people tend to look a lot more like shadows than they do people. It's feeble. Just shut up and write, I whisper to myself as the golden cosmos, perennials planted along the campus, shake off the dew of a recent rain, a desert blessing. The wind howls along to the rhythm echoing in my mind. Write, 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 edit, 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 delete, repeat, repeat. All right, that's Let Poetry Be Poetry. Piece I'm still trying to kind of work on a little bit. Now I'm going to share one last piece before I close out the night. This is from someone I've read a lot before, Jose Olivares, Citizen Illegal. Pretty great collection of poems. He has a new one coming out pretty soon called Promises of Gold, but this one is very simple. It's called Note. Rose that grows from concrete. The inspirational slogan wants you to believe you are a rose, but consider the emperor's muddy boot. You could be a rose or concrete. The record suggests the boot sees both as a welcome mat. We need a new metaphor. A seed is better, but when seeds grow, who gets the fruit? Fuck it. Be a rusty nail. Make the emperor howl. I don't think that's a great way to end Indigenous People Days reading. Let the Emperor howl. Guys, thank you so much for joining us on this Monday. As always, we will be back next Monday, so be on the lookout. If you aren't already, you can follow us on social media, Barbed Wire Open Mic Series, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Today's a really busy week for me, so I'm trying really hard to keep up with media and flyers and all that, so bear with me. I also have so much content that I have buried that I need to release into the world, so it's going to be great once it's all out there. Like, there's videos of performers doing poetry in the studio that are almost a year old, and it's going to be actually kind of cool to revisit them. and of course shows and readings. I have it all there, so we're gonna be working on it, guys. Bear with me. If you follow me on Instagram, Deadwall Reveries, I did a call for volunteers, and I'm gonna be approaching that again soon. I'm just trying to get more organized so that could work effectively. Otherwise, we'll keep doing our thing. We'll be back next Monday for the live stream. I'm gonna go ahead and say peace. Thanks to everyone who tuned in as always, and of course, if you're checking out the replay, just leave a comment. Let us know you were here. Say hi. If there's anything in particular that stood out to you, let us know, and I'll pass the message along to that person. All right. So once again, for the live stream, Rich, if you want to donate, we haven't done that in a while. You guys don't have to donate, but if you want to help support the stream and what we do here, that's an option. All right. Peace.